Okay, everyone. Just before the weekend gets here, I wanted to give you guys a brief overview of a savings plan that is available to you for saving for your kids' education. I was talking to some people about how they save for their children. I just had a newborn about 3 weeks ago. Her name is Remy, and I have a 2-year-old whose name is Adeline. And saving for them kind of seems daunting for their education. You hear about the price of tuition and books and room and board and fees, and you don't quite know where to start. But a couple of years ago, I did some research and found out more about savings, and I went with a savings plan called my529.org. Now, I'm not an expert on it. I'm just a user of it, but it's a tax advantage savings account that's dedicated to education savings for kids. It's supported by the state of Utah, so it's completely legitimate and safe to use. It is an investing platform, so it works a lot like a retirement account, like our 403b. You can create an account anytime for your kid just by going to my529.org, clicking enroll now, and logging in. So once you log in, I'll go home here, and this is what it looks like. As you can see, let me just get a red dot here if I can. Well, we'll just go ahead here. So you can see in 2020, a year ago, it was only at 766. It's done really well, and this year it's up to 2,260. Remy just started, so she has a lot less. So a lot of you would say, wow, that's a great start. Wow, that's really good. Wish I could do that. How did I get here? And in 20 years, where will I be? So both the kids are here, and let's go into some of the details of Adeline, since that's the one we'll use as the example. So she has hers split up between two mutual funds. There's one, and there's nothing special about these. They're just broad market mutual funds that take stocks from all across the stock market. And the other half is in more institutional type investing. Not too important. Don't stress so much about choosing good funds. Just in the enrollment process, they'll walk you through a pretty self-explanatory guide of how to choose those. The important thing is time and interest rates play out to your favor. So right now, all I'm doing is $25 twice a month. That's $50 a month. I know we all spend more than that on gas station drinks, so every paycheck's just $25, and that grows in time to what we see here. So Remy, I'm going to be doing $40 twice monthly. I started with $500 for her, and she'll eventually, hopefully, catch up to her sister maybe. But so I wanted to introduce the my529 idea of saving for education for your kids. The second thing I wanted to introduce to you was a time value of money calculator. So on your phones, you can just on iPhone or Android, just search from the apps for a time value of money calculator. There's tons of them out there. Financial people use them all the time. If you don't have a phone, just go to your computer and type in time value of money calculator. This one happens to be from the Corporate Finance Institute. It's pretty good. They're all the same. What they do is this function here. That's all the time value, TVM, as they say, time value money calculator is doing. It's the FV is a future value that you want to figure out. How much will Adeline have in 20 years? The PV stands for the present value, how much she has right now. Then a mixture of algebraic equations, which we don't really care about, but I'll tell you, it just means the interest rate, number of years you're saving, and how much you're contributing and how much the compounding interest is. That's it. So to simplify it and make it a little more interesting, I have one up here on my window. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. So they're sometimes called future value calculators, but same thing. The important thing is the number of periods that you're saving for. This one is calculated in years. So we'll say 20 years. It's a nice round number. Starting amount, you can start with smaller amounts. We'll just say 400. Interest rate, on average, it's getting about 7 to 9% overall, depending on the fund you choose. And then how much a periodic deposit. This is annual. It's attached to the N number. So annually, how much are you going to contribute? That's totally up to you. But if you did $50 a month, that would actually be $600 a year. So in summary, before I press calculate, we have 20 years savings, $400 to start. Average return on our investments are 7%. It's not asking a lot. It's pretty conservative. And then $600 a year, which is $50 a month, which is $25 a paycheck. That's exactly what I'm doing. So how much will Adeline have in the future? In theory, $27,000. In reality, I've already saved up that $2,200 for her using $25 a paycheck. And it's a little bit shorter, so 18 years. She'll go to college when she's maybe 20 or so, maybe, if she wants to go. And in the my529 plan, there's waivers and things. If they don't go to college, it can be eventually used for other things, so in case you're wondering. So my funds actually did an incredible job this past year, 24%. That'll may never happen again, so I'm not even going to use that. But 13 is a fantastic average, and we'll still do $25 a paycheck. So if you 61,000 is what she would have by the time she's 20. All I changed was the starting amount was actually $2,200, and the interest rate was 13. And it jumped that much. So get on your phone or get on the computer and type in some of these numbers and just kind of play around and see what's realistic, what's really ambitious for you. I know a lot of our retirement accounts have averaged over the past 5 years. They've averaged something like 9 to 13 or 14%. So it wouldn't be uncommon to get 11% over a couple of decades. So we'll use that. And then $25 a paycheck, we'll leave that as it is. It's still $36. If you just started today with $400, you would still have $36,000 saved for your kids' education. So realistically, most of you probably hadn't heard of the my529 plan. Maybe your kid's 5 years old, so they're graduating from high school in 13 years, coming up fast. And say you only start with $200, 11%. You choose a medium return, mutual funds. 11% is good, really good. And then you just do $25 a paycheck. So 5-year-old kids starting today, when you watch this video, by the time they leave home, $18,000 saved. $25 a paycheck. Okay. And so what if you want to catch up? What if you think you can save $40 a paycheck? $40 a paycheck times 12. Oops. Getting a phone call here. So $40 a paycheck times 12 months is 960, I think. So, yeah, $40 paycheck, $80 a month is, double check here, 80 times 12, 960, 11%, 13 years. So you have a 5-year-old, they'd have $28,000 by the time you sent them out the door to go to school. So, yeah, that's the power of time and interest on your side, making it work for you. I use a time value money calculator all the time just to calculate things. You should have one on your phone, download an app, and use that and just do some experimenting. Get onto my529.org. Just set up an account and consistently save small amounts. Another advantage of the my529 is that you can create a gift card where you give that to your relative, like a grandma who always gives $20 or $40 or more. And instead of that just going in your pocket, or maybe a savings account at the bank that saves 0.01% or however awful bank savings accounts get, you can put that they can put that into this account themselves, and it gives an explanation of what this account is and that it's for education. And who knows, maybe the relative will really like that idea and send even more to the kid, knowing that it's going directly to them. I like banks. Actually, I don't like banks. They're useful, but not for savings so much. Let me just show you. Everything's staying the same here. You have a 5-year-old kid, so in 13 years they're leaving. Present value, you start with $200. You do $40 a month. Is that what we said? $80 a month. And using mutual funds, we're getting 11% return, which is pretty good. Reasonable, very reasonable. 28,000. So say you just used your bank's Wells Fargo. I use Wells Fargo, but I don't really like them. So say their savings account is 1%, and that's actually generous. Watch this number over here. Nothing else changed. You're just giving up 10% interest each year. Half. Less than half taken away. So obviously it's not a guarantee, but for the last many decades, lifetime, the stock market has returned much better than just a regular savings account. So I think realistically they're around, bank savings are 0.5 versus something closer to like 11%. So I just really highly recommend savings. The other problem with bank savings is it's so close to your regular daily savings. Going through a tough time, you'd be really tempted just to dip into that college fund and just transfer it over to checking, and then boom, you've lost the ground that you gained. So that's another advantage. On the 529, it can't just be drawn out like that. It's somewhat restricted to education. There's a lot of details, but it has openings at the end if they decide not to go to school, things like that. So take a look at it, read up on it, and maybe it's a really good idea for you and your family. So that's all I had. If you have questions, just let me know. I'll be glad to help you with some things, setting it up. But it's really easy, and then just leave it alone, and eventually you could stop contributing. So say if you got to 4,000 or 5,000 and you still had 10 years to go, and you just stopped contributing, so that contribution ends. Even if you stopped and you had 5,000 or 2,200, you'd end up with 14,000 saved up by the end of those 10 years. Or in Adeline's case, I could stop today contributing, which I won't, but she would still have 7,000 saved. Okay. Anyway, so just play around with these variables and apply that to your own financial lives. The exact same principles apply to your retirement accounts. Future value calculators are really useful tools. So have a great weekend, stay safe, and we will see you next week.